supremacy. With this particular video, I want to talk about how Bill Cosby is a pawn in the Illuminati's game. Now you got to think of this, that every pawn ultimately wants to become a king. And they believe that they're going to become a king on the opposite side of the board. That's the irony of it. But we know pawns usually don't make it to become kings. A lot of pawns are ultimately sacrificed in order to keep the game going. A pawn doesn't necessarily mean a definitive win, but it certainly keeps the game going. And when we're dealing with the Illuminati, it's a matter of just really keeping the game going. It's a never-ending game where the elite continue to stay in power, to the point where it's not about even either side of the game. It's about the game itself and keeping you playing it, keeping somebody playing it on both sides. Bill Cosby was just a pawn, but a seductive pawn to lure you into a possible victory that will end up in a horrible defeat. Bill Cosby was supposed to be the catalyst by way in which you die in the Matrix. We would think that even the Matrix fantasy would die, or the idea of the Matrix would die, but no, it's where you actually are supposed to die in the Matrix. And I'm gonna break that down. The whole Cosby Show was really like a Disney World. It was a program, a wormhole of illusion to allure your consciousness into the Matrix as a black person. They needed to use a black pawn to do it, so that the black person would just even play the game. And it had to be a pawn that seems like it was in a favorable situation and that is moving progressively to make you think that you had a chance at winning the game or even maintaining in the game. So Bill Cosby was supposed to seduce you back in the Matrix. You see the Huxtables, you begin to feel like there's equal opportunity and that we can live under our oppressor or in our oppressor's reality happily ever after. If we would just get a job or just get a career, go to school, we could end up being like Dr. Huxtable. So such a fantasy and such programming presented before us made us let down all of our defenses and made us feel secure in a manufactured hell for blacks. We felt secure and at peace and things are moving forward. And we went more into the game when we actually supposed to be stepping away from the game, not even trying to win the game. We're not even supposed to be playing the game. We're supposed to be getting up from the board and moving into a black divine reality. But this drew us back in the game, this shining pawn. Bill Cosby got you wanting to play again. So it draws you to the game, makes you turn off all your defenses, your desire for independence, self-sustainability, self-government, self-sufficiency. To hell with all that. We can actually play the game and do good at the game. Look at Bill Cosby. Look what's being presented before us. And all the time while you turning off all your defenses and assimilating to his world and moving into the Matrix and accepting the Matrix reality and the Matrix programming, they're preparing for your slaughter. They're preparing you to die in the Matrix because that's the only place that you can die. But they got to get you all the way in the Matrix to die. Something has to make you step all the way in and believe in the Matrix. That was your Cosby Show and your Cosby programming. So Bill Cosby was somewhat, metaphorically speaking, kind of like an antichrist, because he was your Messiah into the possibility of, he was your example, your icon, your logos for being able to have heaven in a white man's society. But it was a false leadership. It was a false Messiah, because it would only lead you to your destruction. It was a lie. It wasn't a reality. It was a magnification of a figment of your imagination that seduced you back into the matrix. So you thinking that you accepting his example, the example that's put before you, and you're following that idea. And then they take that example that they gave you, that was your light at the end of the bottomless pit, your light at the end of the never-ending tunnel. You went down it. And as you continue to go down that tunnel, they slay your iconic father figure on the other end. They build up all this energy, as he was an energy vampire, I say an Illuminati satanic puppet, drawing all your energy back into the matrix through the Cosby show. Sucking all your energy, drawing all the attention around him. And after you focus all on that and you believe in that and you get back into the matrix, then they slay him in the matrix through these sexual assault allegations. They're killing him in the matrix, killing your icon, killing your father figure, and thus killing a part of you in the matrix. Because you had all this hope and all this, you believed, and oh yeah, you was really sold. So once you attach all your energy to the illusion, they knew when they take down the illusion, they could take down you with it. They could use Bill Cosby to lead you to your own psychological and emotional, mental, and physical destruction. So not only did they disarm you by making you believe that society had changed during the Cosby show in the 90s, they disarmed you and redirected your energy from the 60s and 70s. They made you believe things had changed. But then 20 years later, history resorts back 60 years. So while you think it was progressing, you walk down the illusion of a progressive reality. You walk down that illusion, and when you get to the end of it, it doubles back 60 years into racism and hatred and Jim Crow and discrimination, making America hate again. So they got these programs that they present to you to lull your ass to sleep. You went to sleep with the Cosbys. You thought Obama just put you to sleep. No, that was a deeper level of inception. Obama was a deeper level of inception. But they put you to sleep with the Cosby show and disarmed you and neutralized you and make you walk down a fantasy that seduced you to walk down a fantasy road that would lead to your destruction. So now that you see how they really feel about you with Cosby, with the lynching of him before the public, with the sacrifice or the crucifixion or crucifixion, the crucifixion or the crucifixion of the Antichrist, they're taking you out with them. They're trying to take your soul out with the matrix, with him. That's by design. And they're doing it at a time where you are under attack the most, where they're shooting down unarmed black men. We're seeing racism like we've never seen it before in America. We're seeing hatred in this country under the Trump administration like we have never ever seen before. So at a time where you're under attack the most, they take down the false Messiah that they gave you. They destroy your icon to destroy your hope, to totally make you vulnerable and weak at a time where it's meant for you to be most radical, for you to be in most opposition, for you to have the most resistance to white supremacy. They attempt to take you out of the game with Bill Cosby. They take the icon of black fatherhood and paint him out to be a monster. And by doing this, they propagandize that the black father is distrustful, making you suspect of your own, creating distrust. And they took a positive image and reversed that shit and turned it into the ultimate negative image. So what was the most positive, uplifting image for us turned into our most negative image in front of our face. So they took our energy and reversed it. What we don't understand is that the Illuminati can use good and evil. They can use a good image for an evil reason. It's not the good that they put before you right now, or the evil that they put before you. It's what their agenda is in the end that is what matters. They can use good or evil for their agenda. So they sucked your energy with Bill Cosby into this false realm, this false dimension, this false paradigm of black well-beingness and a very satisfied black middle class. They sucked all your energy into that and had exalted that image before you, and then they decapitated it for you. And it's ushering in an era of your destruction at your most induced, weak, and vulnerable state. That shit is deep. Because if it wasn't for Cosby and that program of you assimilating and accepting society versus trying to be separate and self-sufficient and independent and politically conscious and on the path to justice, if it wasn't for Cosby, you would have been prepared for the times that we're in right now. But they disarmed you with a weapon of mass distraction. Bill Cosby, and of mental and psychologically programming on a deep level. They programmed you back into the matrix. See, they know they can only kill you in the matrix. They have to have you to believe in the matrix for you to die in it. They needed Cosby to make you believe in that shit again. And once you believe in it, they could take you down with your belief in it. And when they kill the image of Christ that you imitate, which he was a false Messiah, but you imitated that image. And when they take down that which you imitate, they take down you with it. Because a part of your consciousness has been shaped and formed in the likeness and the image of that which you exalted. So when they take that down, they take down a part of your consciousness to disable and disarm you from being in a very clear-minded state to resist against them in this time that we're in. He was an Illuminati, satanic puppet and pawn of their agenda. He played into it. But then he started being conscious and realizing what was really going on. And he was going to try to use the magnetism and the energy that he had to start dealing with black issues. To start addressing black issues. So now, this Disney World character that they gave you was going to start to try to use its magical power in the Disney realm in real reality. Now, he started off being very condescending as it relates to black political situations and circumstances, but that was his only beginning. That was just his beginning. But what was so progressive about that is that at least he was using his fictional magical image to deal with things in real reality. And that's the ultimate no-no, because they gave him that influence. They gave him that power. They allowed him to have that magic. And now he's going to use the magic that he gained in the astral world to deal with real issues in a black community. He's going to try to be a real king. He didn't recognize he was just a pawn. There's no way he'll become a king on the other side of the board. He was a sacrificial pawn to begin with. So there's no way that they was going to let him do that, because eventually he would have went from being condescending with some of his political views, even though he was at least dealing with black issues, to becoming more revolutionary and more militant in his ideology. Just like even Dr. Martin Luther King, who became more militant the further he progressed with his social and political ideas. So would Bill Cosby. They couldn't let that happen. But they knew that he possibly would have headed in that direction. So his destiny would have already had to been written out. Masterminds knew that he could go in that direction, and they had already prepared to take him down. Operation Shut His Ass Down before that happened. And not only shut him down, use him to shut down everything that's connected to and plugged into him in the Matrix. Because when you shut down one of them worlds, one of them fake worlds in the Matrix, you shut down everything plugged into it. So everybody connected to that false consciousness now is dying in the Matrix. When they shut down that program, everything plugged to it dies. But they first got to get you caught up into the program. That's very parasitic. They use Cosby's exalted positive image, seducing you with your desire for material comfort and acceptance in your oppressor's reality. They use your greed and your desire for that to pull you into the program. And then once they get you all the way in, they destroy that iconic figure. They erase that icon off the windows. And thus destroy all the program, destroy everything that's connected to it, the entire network. That's deep. Cosby was used to put you to sleep and then kill you in your dreams. That your dream would turn into a nightmare, which is what Cosby has. It has turned into our dream, and our fantasy has turned into a nightmare. So now you die of a heart attack before you wake up. So now you die in a dream. But it seemed like a good dream at the beginning. That's what pulled you into it. And when you had your guards down the most and had the most sweetest feeling in the dream, that's when the demon comes out. And what you thought was the Christ turns into a demonic, monstrous antichrist. And when you see the evil image and they crucify that which was exalted at the heights of your consciousness is crucified before you in the dream, you have a heart attack and die. Now you hopeless and left destitute. And at the same time, in a real world where you are at war, but you are vulnerable, unprepared, and disarmed because you was living in a fantasy. And you're not prepared to deal with the reality of white oppression, of how white people really feel about you. You're not prepared to deal with the real world that black people are actually living in because you've been asleep. So you've been woken up to a very harsh reality. So if you don't die in a dream itself like most people will, they're going to die because, in a nightmare. If you do wake up, you wake up to a harsh reality that you was not prepared to fight in because you was neutralized and disarmed by the fantasy. So you just in a state of shock if you wake up. You still not prepared. So they've won in the real world and in the fantasy. And the only people who will survive are the revolutionaries and the black militants that never bought the program to begin with, that never fell asleep through the whole thing. The only hope now is that you can recognize the true Messiah in the real world. That you can recognize the Messiah, the real actual divine and living black Messiah, to lead you out of the matrix into a true black divine reality. It's King Noble Black Supremacy signing out.